color my May title page with me. April is almost over, which means that it's time to set up the May journal pages. And I wanted to capture the feeling of summer. And one of the things that really says summer to me is those hazy, warm, humid nights where the night is just alive. In the winter, everything's quiet, everything's sleepy, especially at night. But in the summer, even when it's nighttime, you hear insects, you hear frogs. It's such a beautiful feeling of just life continuing even through the night. And I wanted to experience that so much after this winter. I went with a dark gradient, blue to green for the background, and I tried to capture some plants in the foreground and really make everything pretty dark and pretty blue so that the yellow glowy fireflies would stand out. And you really have to trust the process here. I know it's looking a little patchy and a little rough in those plants. They look like they've seen better days, but it's all going to come together. Once all those colors and lines are layered, all the little mistakes, they kind of disappear and the overall impression just stays with you. And I'm really happy with how this page came out. I feel like I'm learning to use my alcohol markers better each time I use them and definitely gaining confidence. I'm just finishing the gradient here, and the next step is going to be to really start putting in those details, which is what's going to make the image come to life. Here it is looking like the back of one of those coloring book pages, so let's make it better. I'm going around each firefly light with a green, and this is going to help it blend into the blue or blue-green background and make it pop while being part of a cohesive image. I wanted the fireflies to be the first thing you see when you look at the page. Next, I've got one of my black pens and I'm just going over the plants to give them some texture. And you'll see this is really starting to hide all those imperfections. And it's the same with the shadows. Once the shadows go in, the plants really start to take on a shape and an overall impression so that you take in the whole scene. So the plants are not perfect by any means, but that's not the first thing you see when you look at them. Now, when I was planning this color scheme for this page, I knew I wanted to make it more than just blue and yellow, so I decided to include all of these warm colored flowers. And I really wanted them to be not big enough to take over the fireflies, but just enough of a pop of color to create some visual interest and add a little bit of magic and make the colors on the page just a little bit more complex and interesting to look at. The last thing I'm doing is making this glass jar as much like glass as I can, and I'm actually using a white color pencil for that. I bought one specifically for this page because I've never done this technique before, but I think I love it. I'm also using the white pencil around the fireflies to give it a little bit more of a glow. And I think the scene really needed that. It helps the yellow stand out over top of the white accents, which are obviously brighter than even the lightest yellow. So the last thing I'm going to do is take my brightest, strongest white acrylic pen, which is the Posca, and just put a little highlight in each firefly to make sure that they're the brightest thing that you can see on the page. So here it is. I cannot wait to use this. And if you try any of these techniques yourself, let me know how it went. I'll see you tomorrow.